Alrighty. It was rather interesting work. A few more things I'm picking up on and whatnot. Seem to be some recurring things. Somebody was trying to tell me how it is with propane vehicles the other week, and look, I'll be straight with you guys. Unless you've lived in a country that uses propane vehicles as a part of everyday life, you don't know jack shit comparative to most of the people who just live here, who aren't even interested in cars. This car that I drive every day is propane powered. The other one that I'm probably going to drive tomorrow, that I like to drive at least once a week to keep it running, is also propane powered. My family has had experience with propane powered cars for many years. I myself have had experience with them for 20 years. They have little switches like that where you change over the fuels. In fact, it's not actually propane, it's liquefied petroleum gas, which in effect, a long story short, is about half butane, cigarette lighter gas, and half propane. Now, in the back of this, which I should also show you, I know a lot of you guys have seen this, but for the benefit of others who haven't, I'm going to show you all this. You have a propane tank, and under here is your standardised several fittings. There's an individual gauge. That one on the right there is your fill. There's your tap to turn it off, as it's required to have. And that there is on the left of the tap, which looks very shiny right now, is a running off this wire. It's a fuel solenoid. And that red cap there, I believe, is an overpressure thingy-majigger that, when released, I've got an O-ring running through there, so it holds it all in, and it blasts out through here underneath the car. Keep closed gas tight, blah blah blah. Now this isn't some fucking hillbilly hack, as you could probably imagine. I'll just try and reseat this bastard because it's... There we go. Take a bit to click in sometimes. This isn't some hillbilly hack. It's made by a mob and manufactured in Australia. This one's got feet that are welded on, solid, to a mount. The other ones used to just have straps years ago. And, yeah, you didn't necessarily know once you took it off what was up and what was down, unless you can remember what car you took it out of. Basically, these run like an aerosol can. They draw liquefied stuff right through into the hood, through a little line that's probably about a 1/4 inch copper line. Long story short, that solenoid thing which you could barely see there, they're required to have one on that, and only on that, I believe, until July 1994, at which point you had to also have one under the hood. That is an on-demand regulator that's covered in grease and shit. We call them converters, and Wikipedia will tell you that nobody calls them converters. They say that quite specifically, but then all of Australia calls them converters. And some of the older conversions are rather shit. They're a hole drilled into your inlet manifold and got a nut and tail, or basically a bung and tail, you know what I mean. And they'll thread that hole they drilled into the inlet manifold and then put this bung and tail, nut and tail thing through that hole, and then the pipe which comes from this will inevitably go in through that hole. But there's other vehicles like this where they have kits. Now this is a shitbox air cleaner. And basically they used to have this, and then they have this flexible line that sort of goes, it was just a plastic, I think it was flexible here, but then it was plastic between here and here. And what they do is you go and get part of the pipe that's between your air cleaner and your inlet manifold, one of the bits that disconnects because of a little hose clamp on it or whatever, and you take it off and throw it away, and then you put this in, and this comes with the kit, because this is made for the kit for this model with this engine. And a lot of common cars have those kits, but the older ones, they used to do a pretty rough old conversion. And I've actually seen one where it was in a taxi that was in a wreckers. They just drilled a friggin' hole straight into the air cleaner and jammed a pipe in an air cleaner, then put a bit of high temperature silicone around the gap between the hole and the pipe that was jammed in. I'm not joking. Some of them are renowned for running like shit, but a government survey found that a lot of conversions are actually done pretty frickin' roughly. And this one's been done really nicely by a guy who's been licensed to do so since about 1984. He was one of the first 100 or so people. I think he was like the 40-something person in the state that was licensed to do it in this state. And at the end of the day, you get this strange little plaque they put on, much like a compliance plate, and it's like a so. That's good, I don't have my registration tag on here, but basically it comes from the Automotive Alternative Fuels Registration Board. Yep. And liquefied petroleum gas compliance plate number, bang bang, VIN number of my vehicle, the registration business number, which is AFR number, which is their license to be able to do it. Date of installation. Let's get the shit off of this. I'll leave his installed by name hidden there. That's the mechanic who done it. It's done on the 22nd of the 5th, 2009. And yeah. Bottle test stamp, 06 of 08. That's what I'm saying. You don't know what you're dealing with until you've lived around shit like that for 20 years. And I have. I'll make a big video on my main channel one day explaining all the little intricacies and the stunts and the bullshit and the different bizarre things that happen with them and certain things. You run a different sort of engine oil in them that stops against the corrosiveness, because it's slightly corrosive. It also has a slight tendency to do a couple of things like burn out plug leads, and because people tend to crank a lot more in those, because often you've got to crank them twice to start them, they tend to wear out the starter motors slightly faster, and also tend to, because of the acidity with the diesel, soot will block any small holes very quickly. Petrol will do it slowly enough, but it will still block them, and that will actually eat out the holes if you've got an exhaust pipe that's turning to shit. And as I said, as I might have just said, I can't remember if I did, they're very hard on plug leads, and of course, you know, a little bit corrosive on the plugs over time. But if you keep maintenance up, they're not fine. But a lot of them, very rough conversions, and they're not tuned terribly well, whereas that is done by a guy who really knows what he's doing big time, and he done a good job of that one. Anyways, back to the fucking point now. What I was saying about work, a few of the things I've realised, we get offered furniture and shit all the fucking time. All the time. I'm not joking. Don't expect that you won't get offered 2 to 3 mattresses a fucking week. Some of these mattresses are perfect. There's no staining, there's no smell. They only look like they're about a month or two old. Would have been offered mattresses, bed heads, fridge, tennis table. I thought I was almost going to be offered a barbecue as well today, and all this, and I've only been there 3 weeks and only 15 hours or so a week. I can see there is real potential for a couple of things, the most obvious of which is a second-hand furniture store. So many of these people will come around and you know, they'll take stuff or they'll say, oh, look, we don't even want to fucking take this. Do you guys want it? And it just happens on such a regular basis, it's ridiculous. And some of the guys I'm not going to go into detail, but on occasion, not all the time, but some of the guys, they say yes, and they've avoided buying a lot of shit as a result. Yeah, the other one that comes to mind, especially when I saw one of these frickin' mattresses with all sweat stains or something on it, and that is mattress disposals. And I mentioned I've actually done that for somebody else in another job I was in. They recycle these mattresses and they charge you a fucking arm and leg to take it. This guy used to charge $25. I've heard of another one more recently that charges $40. And I know exactly how to do it because I had to do it myself as part of my job at another place in early 2010. And basically, all they do is they just get out the dirty big fucking butcher's knife or whatever, just something that's pretty frickin' sharp, and they slash all the bloody cloth off it, and they're left with the bed springs. The cloth gets thrown into landfill. You can't throw mattresses into landfill because they don't believe they can compress them properly because of the springiness of them. So you're not allowed to put them in landfill here. But cushions you can, sponge foam you can, and any sort of fabric you can. So they just cut the damn fabric off and throw that in landfill. And the springs, hey, they go to scrap metal. They're almost classed as wire because they basically are. And yeah, I was explaining that to the boss's best mate when I was working with the boss's best mate the other day, and he was hanging on every word I said. And I also explained a little bit of the thing they used to do with taking away tyres. $25 to take away a tyre. $20 to $25, depending on who you go with. But there's a certain place that recycles tyres, and I believe somehow using some sort of pyrolysis process, they turn it back basically into base oils that are used for the manufacture of engine oil. Would you believe it? You probably could believe it, considering that rubber is a crude oil-based product to begin with. But using some sort of pyrolysis, cracking catalyst method, they turn them back into oil. And you're picking them up for $25, or maybe you're a cheap guy and you're picking up for $20 a tyre, like you turn up there and you'll take 4 tyres and then charge them $80 for it. And it costs you $1.20 for this place to take them away that recycles them into basically a crude oil-ish product. That's one of the few ones. I think, usually speaking, they're turned into rubber matting that they use for playgrounds for kids. They put on the flooring of it. I'm pretty sure that's what they're used for most of the time, but there's one place that was investigating the whole oil thing. I don't know if they're if that all went to fruition as the article explained, but anyway, there's a certain place that's got a certain name that I know will take them for $1.20, and I take truck ones for $1.50 a tyre. And I found this out by asking mechanics, and rather interesting. But and the other thing is, if you get the right tyres that are still any good, they're actually resellable. Second-hand tyres are resellable. You won't make much, but you can resell some of these ones for $15 if they've got a decent amount of tread on them. Black kitty checking the bird out. So that's something, but you know, a lot of these tyres, they're getting rid of them because they're shit and they've got no tread. But anyway, that's a few other things, but I just like, I see lost opportunities here. I mean, this dude could tell us, none of you bastards are taking any of this furniture home for yourself, and then just stick his fucking sister in a shop that's a second-hand furniture shop, and away he'd go. Is he doing it? No. Would I do it? Fucking oath. Of course I'd do it. The other one I think that he's missing out on, and this is a common one done by removalists, so I don't know why he doesn't make a jump of doing it, because I know they do send stuff into state, and they do go as high as Queensland, because, well, the other week one of the guys was telling me he just come back from Queensland, and that is backloading. What happens is you'll go up to Queensland or wherever, and you know, you're only really making a one-way trip. You're going up there just to take this furniture and shit up there, dump it at the guy's house. Then you drive the entire thing, holy smoke, a couple thousand miles with nothing in the back of the truck. And the vast majority of, there's a ratio, I forget exactly what it was, it's either 3 families or 4 families moving from Victoria to Queensland for every, it's either 3 or 4 families moving from south to north versus everyone moving from north to south. So what it means is there's not a hell of a lot of trucks coming back, but a hell of a lot of trucks going up. And a lot of these removalists, particularly with stuff that was boxed and already in containers of some kind, like IBCs, Nelly bins, or other sort of tubs and stuff like that, these removalists were kicking the arse off other guys because they'd made their money taking the stuff from south to north, and they could charge an absolute rock bottom rate for anything going from north back to south, because they're driving a truck 2,000 miles with nothing on it. And so any packaged goods, box goods, or anything that could be put into a container, a wooden box, an alley bin, an IBC or whatever, or pallets or whatever that they could get in the back of their truck, they'd take back. And the usual owner-operator drivers just couldn't compete, because these guys could take this stuff for fucking peanuts, because they'd already made their money going from south to north. They could charge almost nothing taking a trip, taking stuff from north back down to south, because otherwise they're just going to go home with an empty truck, as they had done for years, you know. And they realised that what they were doing was pretty dumb. And one of the things I realised when I was up visiting Mr. Fairy Meadow up in Coffs Harbour was that the friggin' mangoes up there are about 1/6 the price of what they are down here. And because there's a few mango growers up there, I mean, most of them are up in Queensland as well, but there's a few in northern New South Wales, the mangoes are fucking worthless. You know, I'd be paying, I think down here, you were looking at bloody $5 each, and up there, you know, they were less than $2 each. You know, and it was basically, I forget how it worked out, but basically they were 4 to 6 times the price down here as to what they were up there. And that's one of the obvious ones straight up, you know, have a deal set up between a fruit shop down here with one of the people up there, and on your way back, fucking pick up these blooming, they got these cardboard, they're sort of a disposable way, instead of using any sort of tub, Nelly bin, anything like that, they have these ones that I've seen them at the back of supermarkets, and it's actually a big cardboard shitstorm, and they usually load pumpkins into them, and so you can have these things full of pumpkins, but the cardboard, so they're worth jack shit, and you just throw them out when you get there, but it saves them all ended up on the floor, you know, or anything like that, or they've taken these expensive plastic tubs down that they, you know, cost a fair bit of money to make these tubs, you know, a few $100 per tub, and then you sort of look at the produce in it and you go, shit, I've just taken $1,000, $2,000 worth of tubs down south, and they're never going to see the money. But the cardboard ones, you know, you one trip and then you just throw them in the friggin' recycle bin. So that might be one of the things that I'd want to investigate. You know, people who commonly need to get product from north down to south that I could literally just slip in to the back of the truck, especially anything that's already boxed or not too hard to handle. And you know, I don't exactly want to open a fruit shop just selling mangoes, but those who are in the market, those who own fruit shops might want some mangoes, if you know what I'm saying, or any other places that typically, you know, need to have a run of products from up north down to the south. And a lot of the times, you know, the thing that's coming most to mind with me is tropical fruits, because there's so much good shit we grow up north that you just cannot grow down here because of the cold, and the price is fucking high to get them down here because of trucking costs. And there's got to be one way or the other I'm going to get my nose in and make money there. He doesn't do that. A lot of removalists already do it, but he doesn't. Bang, another thing that is a lost opportunity to make more money, you know. So I'll be onto that if I ever end up in the removals business. It's, I must admit, it's a good business. You know, you rarely see grumpy customer, and when I was a courier, oh, shit. How many people, you turn up with a truck and they'd be friggin' giving you daggers as soon as you'd come around the corner with a truck, and you feel like saying, dude, I'm delivering stuff to your shop, and if it wasn't for me delivering stuff to your shop, this shop would close down and you'd be out of a fucking job. And you'd all turn around the corner and you look at me like as though, oh shit, oh, another fucking delivery, why have I got to deal with this? Well, don't deal with it, you know, fuck off home and sit on welfare, or just don't unload anything and let the shop run empty. Not my problem, you know. That many people, they can jerk your chain when you're a courier, these guys at the receiving docks in some of these shops, and I saw a little bit too much of that for my liking. You know, and after maybe, you know, 6 months or so, you know, 5 or 6 months, they start to get friendly. But I like this job because almost everybody is happy. 90% of the people are happy every time, as opposed to 90% of them are grumpy and then take 6 months to warm to you, you know. And it is it's just good to see smiling faces every day, as opposed to blokes who sour-faced and look like they just shit the fucking bed or something, you know. When you turn up to give them the very products that are keeping them in a bloody job, you know. So, yeah, it's a very rewarding aspect of it to see so many people that are so thankful that you turned up, even the times where you do turn up an hour late because you have another job that sort of ran a little bit longer than expected. That's another thing I seem to notice, and it's very common. Even the office girl mentions it, and that is, you always, well, what we really need the removalist to take is this couch and these friggin' beds and blah, blah, blah. And then you get round there and they go, rightio, this couch and that bed. And then you go, you know what, you got a bloody huge truck and you fit it on that on easy. How about these boxes? What about this? What about that next thing you're taking? Fucking anything and everything. And you keep going until you fill the truck up. So you can never really, like you're always told the job's small, and sometimes you're told the job's big, and you go around there and there's fuck all. But that's a rare occasion. Almost every time you're told the job's small and it ends up overblown to about 4 times the amount of shit they initially wanted. Actually, sometimes it's more like 6 times the amount of stuff they wanted, maybe even 8 times. You know, it's almost like as though if you've still got room in your truck, I'm going to decide it's easier for you to take it than me to put it in my little fucking pipsqueak hatchback car. You know, and they're right, it is easier for us to take it, but in that they always go, well, you know, we should, they only reckon it'll be a few things, so you're only going to be there 2 hours, so I'll allocate this time and you should be out of there in 2 hours, and then your next job is at this time. Sure as eggs, you'll be there 4 hours. Guaranteed you'll be there 4 hours, because they'll load on 6 times the amount of shit they were going to load on, and then you still got to drive there and unload it all. You can unload twice the speed at what you can load up. Primarily because you've got to wrap things as you load them up and put straps on them. But as you're unloading, all you're doing is just turfing the pads, as they call them. They're like a big, thick blanket thing. They're actually about double the thickness of most blankets. You're just turfing them to one side and unloading the stuff. And in the end of the day, a lot of the time, not all times, but a lot of the time I get, especially with the smaller one-person stuff, I start unloading like a mofo. and the dude I work with is just spends the whole time wrapping all these damn blankets up again, because I'm unloading shit so fast and so many blankets hitting the ground that he can't even keep up with me, you know. And I've had some customers say that, you know, they say, bloody hell, you go like a machine, and I do, you know. And, and if you want to keep your job, you know, you should do things like that. You should actually put in a friggin' effort in a shitty job market that we're in at the moment, and quite honestly, probably for several years into the foreseeable future, the way things are going financially around the world. But yeah, it's a few other things I see, such as, I think I've mentioned this already, but people, I mean, like, we turned up to a job the other day, you know, and they're just not organised for you. And it's like, if I was running a show, one of the things I was telling them is, make sure you get shit organised or boxed up, for fuck's sake. Get some boxes. I wouldn't say exactly for fuck's sake to a customer, but, you know, make sure you get some boxes and you put things in boxes, because the faster we load this stuff, the less it's going to cost you. And that's literally the case. You know, the faster we load it, the less it's going to cost you. And like, we turned up there, I want to go this, and this. And then it expanded to, well, not just that furniture, but all this other stuff as well. And then, can you take this table? Fuck, they got a TV on the table, switched on, with an Xbox, DVD player, fucking cable TV box, all this other shit. And it's like, if we're going to take that out, you know, I'm loading this truck pretty fast. If we're going to take that out, it's going to be out the door in 5 minutes. You might want to turn the TV off and unplug all the shit, and, you know, and it's like, they're not ready for you. And then they're scrambling. And then when you're unloading, some of them are good and they'll keep walking out to you trying to unload it and just let you unload it. And others are so busy trying to actually open the boxes and set their fucking house up as you've only got the first half a dozen boxes in the door. And it's like, can we leave this? Like, can you do this shit tonight? Because if you just start spreading stuff everywhere, I've got nowhere else that I'm going to put this stuff except drop it at your front door, you know. And like, we've got to get I don't want this shit spread all over the damn place just yet, because we've still got to go down this hallway to take through, you know, a base, or 2 mattresses, 2 bases, 2 bed heads, you know, a couple of bedside tables, blah, 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 you know. And some of them, they sort of get so distracted with what you're unloading and sort of trying to pack everything into kitchen drawers and shit. It's like, fuck, can we just unload this shit? You know, you can play with your kitchen drawers all fucking week, you know. But, and that'd be another thing I'd suggest, is that we can also unload faster if we just concentrate on unloading when we're here, and this will also make it cheaper for you. You know, speed up the load times by being ready for us, like actually have the TV off the table and switched off too would be a good idea. Because if you want us to take the TV, it's going to have to be both off the table we're taking first and switched off as well, so we can take it. And when we start unloading, just let's get this shit inside your house or into your garage, so it's undercover, it's not going to get rained on, and let's just get it off. And you can play with it all friggin' way. And I can understand that they want the, you know, bloody heavy old German-built washing machine, which all German-built washing machines tend to be so much bloody heavier than any other brands. You know, they want it in place. You know, same with the double bed. They want the base in place, and they want the mattress in place, because as a single mum who's, you know, 5'5" tall, you can't expect her to exactly move around the double bed on her own. I can understand that, but with these individual boxes that are just full of fucking pots and pans, oh man, just let's just keep our mind on the game here before we just, you know, get diverted, sort of thing. And in all of that, you know, you could get more jobs done per day. You could lower your costs for the customers because you're there for less hours, which means you could actually charge a higher hourly rate and move the same volume of stuff just because they're ready with it all boxed up, so you can just pack it straight in the truck, and also ready to take the stuff off as quick as possible. And yeah, I'm learning about the different hourly rates and how things are charged, because all I've got to do is look at the paperwork and I know how much they're being charged on what days. And Saturdays are always dearer. You know, it's dearer for 3 people instead of 2. And yeah, I'm getting a feel for what it's like price-wise with all this stuff. And probably not supposed to say this, but we did a few hours work today, and then I had to pick the cash up for the thing, and $495. Total time from when we left the depot with the truck to when we returned, 4.5 hours. Yeah. And that's just two old guys with a truck that was not very big at all, and you do the maths on this and your outgoings are going to be good, but I believe even in the middle of winter when the industry's shit, the boss has taken thousands and thousands of dollars a day in, and there's a lot of outgoings, but holy smoke, sometimes I know why she's driving what she's driving. I'll put it like that, as her personal car. But that's what it's all about. It's all about making money in business, and because of the way I am, I work out how to make money by saving money, or basically just having less outgoings as I have the same amount of incomings. And as you know, I'm also having been trained in organising production lines in a manufacturing environment. When it comes to processes, I can always work out how to make a process more efficient. And these things creep around in my mind to work out how I would do things if I was doing it. But 3 weeks and I've picked up on so many things that could be made more profitable, made faster, inefficiencies that should be improved upon, things that should be done as a side business that are just so obvious to me after only 3 weeks. So I wonder how much I would have picked up on after 6 months of working here.